and welcome to the November 6th, 2024 regular meeting of the Cohasset School Committee. Would all members who are present please indicate so? In roll call, Mrs. Hannah.
Here.
Mr. Carr.
Present.
Ms. Lesky.
Present.
Mr. Dial is not with us tonight. He is traveling for work, though he may virtually join us to see his son Carson present. There he is, giving us the thumbs up. Sounds like that might be happening. All right, well, we have a quorum of 4 members present, and if everyone who is willing and able, please rise for the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is in the rear of the room. I pledge allegiance. Will the students lead us?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, guys. All right, as we get started, I remind everyone that this meeting is being televised on Cohasset 143 TV. It's also being recorded and live streamed on Facebook. You can participate virtually by logging into Zoom using the meeting ID and passcode provided at the top of our agenda and utilizing the Q&A feature. If you have a question or concern at any time, and that will pop up on my screen, and as soon as I see it, we will get to that. You can also utilize that to make public comment right now, which is the first part of our meeting. It allows members of our community to raise questions or concerns or thoughts about anything that's not related to something that's already on our agenda. If you have a question or concern or thought related to an item on the agenda, just simply wait until we arrive at that point in the meeting and you can make your position be heard. But if you have anything that's not on the agenda, please use this time to alert us to those thoughts or concerns. And I will check the Q&A feature to see if anything pops up. And in the meantime, we have a lot of guests. I realize probably for the next item on our agenda, but if there's anyone that has public comment, please feel free to raise your hand and make public comment. Anyone? Mrs. Clark students, any thoughts? No? All right, well, I don't see anything popping up in the Q&A feature, so we'll close out public comment. But if you're watching and you have some thoughts, please do share. We will get to them. The first item on our agenda are some very special guests. As I just noted, Mrs. Clark, one of our incredible 3rd grade teachers, has been so kind to come here after hours with some of the students from her class and share a presentation for our Spotlight on Learning, which I think is maybe our first of the academic year. So that's exciting. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here. So, Mrs. Clark, if you would be so kind to...
I'm actually going to start.
No, and Ms. I am so sorry, Principal Sullivan is also here.
That's okay.
All right, well, then lead us down the path, Principal Sullivan.
All right, I think we have a presentation. I shared with Jennifer Sreedis.
Okay,
If not, then I will turn it over to Mrs. Clark.
just give me 1 moment. And I will find it.
Yeah, sorry, everyone, we're a little short-staffed tonight. There's been a few absences we didn't anticipate.
And the link.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Hold on.
Shannon.
Give me 2 seconds. I can freeze. Got it.
Found it in an email. All right, I'm gonna share my screen.
Perfect.
All right, tell me
Thank
when
you.
tell me when you want me to.
All right, so the topic of our spotlight is play at Deer Hill, which while we are incredibly proud of our academic traditions and our other social emotional undertakings, such as our past program with yoga, our Reading Rovers, all those things, this year, in response specifically and directly to the reading of The Anxious Generation, we have instituted a play initiative at Deer Hill. This is just a quote from the book. I will take a second to read it. It says, "When we took away free play, we took away more than just fun. We took away the training ground for independence, resilience, and social competence. This has left a generation ill-equipped to handle the complexities of adult life. So this book really resonated with me, as I know as it did with many of you here and in the audience, and that notion of play was a big component of that. My background is as a primary school teacher. I taught mostly kindergarten and first grade, and so I had the luxury of having play very embedded into what we do. And while there are many examples of how in the past at Deer Hill we've incorporated play, it wasn't ever anything we undertook in a very purposeful, consistent way across the building. And so why is this important? For the development of those independence and skills and risk management, social skills and cooperation, mental and emotional well-being, and cognitive and physical development. When I think about the anxious generation, one of the things that really, again, resonated was that notion of overprotecting our children in the world and maybe underprotecting them a little bit in the virtual world. And all of those problem solution skills and social skills and interaction skills that, that maybe we aren't giving them as many opportunities to do when we script their day with their lessons and structured play and gym and those kinds of things. And so this is a little bit of a response to that, that we put into play here at Deer Hill. What it looks like is every classroom across grades 3 to 5 has a 30-minute play block per week. Teachers were able to identify a time in their schedule where that worked. It might be the end of a day on a Friday. It might be in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. The focus is that idea of it being unstructured. It's not chaotic. Again, we are still doing all kinds of learning during this playtime around those skills that I just referenced. It's introduced systematically. We're always thinking about our Skipper Creed at Deer Hill, right? Can anyone help us out with what the Skipper Creed is? Eleanor, what is our Skipper Creed? Exactly. So we're always thinking about those things. We also are often thinking about using our WIT at Deer Hill. That one's a little trickier if you're in 3rd grade, because that's a newer one. Anyone know WIT?
Anybody remember WIT?
What do we do?
Remember Sean? Do you remember?
Walk away,
Is-
ignore, tell a teacher.
What else can you do? Anyone help them out? What's the last
Ella?
one? Talk it out.
Nice.
Exactly.
Good job,
So
guys. Good teamwork there.
that's our problem solving foundation at Deer Hill as well. And so our play block gives us some opportunity to follow those Skipper Creed expectations and to also use our WIT. Another piece that's important about our play block is it involves teacher participation. So it's not a prep period for teachers or a time to, pull a small group for an academic reason. The teachers are playing. So they're with the students and interacting with them in new ways and watching those social groups and all of those kinds of things as well. So I just have a couple of slides of some photos. I know you're going to see some live play in action, but these are some examples. I think these pictures are from a 4th grade classroom. Again, students might choose to do an activity independently. They also can participate with a peer or a group of peers. There's different choices available different weeks. It looks different in different classrooms, but really it's just time to play. And I think there's one more slide of some examples with some Play-Doh, other materials, Legos, things like that. So with that, I would love to turn it over to the real play experts, and that would be Mrs. Clark's students. All right, come on down, guys.
Thank you, Principal Sullivan. Welcome, guys.
I think
Very
they're gonna
exciting.
introduce themselves before they start.
Perfect.
Okay. Olivia, why don't you start with your name?
I'm
Olivia, say your last name. Great.
I'm Sean Amaran. I'm Carson Dial. I'm a little girl, Mom Oberman.
Excellent. Good job. Okay. So Carson, you're gonna kick things off. Yes? All right. We're ready for you.
All right. This may just look like a table, right? It's a table. But it's not just an ordinary table. First, take this out. Then, take your finger. Boom.
Wow.
You turn it into chess. That's not all. You also have Monopoly, Scrabble, and then I don't even know what
Backgammon.
is.
Yeah.
It's a great game. I have to teach you, Carson.
Good job. Yep. So back in there. Perfect. There you have a drawer to hold all of the things in it. We've really only used the chess and checkers at this point because the thought of getting into Monopoly seems a little bit daunting.
Especially setting it up.
Yes.
With only 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But the good thing about that, if you were to play Monopoly, which we haven't, you could just leave it. You know how Monopoly you play and it just goes on and on and on and on
Yeah, I know,
forever.
but what if
This-
people want to play chess and they have to clean it up?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So we've got two friends. So Owen and Eleanor are gonna quickly set up a chess game and they're gonna show you how they compete against each other on a Friday. And then my other friends, you're gonna show off some of the other games that we have in our classroom to play. So go ahead and do that. Sean and Olivia, you wanna show the thing that you guys are doing?
Yes.
Yep, so take it all out so they can see what you're doing and how you play. Good job. And then Carson, do you want to show off some of the games that I brought down on the side there for
So
other
this game is
things?
gonna make any shape with this, and then you just put the magnets in there, and then if they connect, each player gets 10 pieces, and if they connect, you have to take those pieces, and the last person with 0 wins,
Yep,
so.
go ahead and show it off, show what you're doing, set it up.
Nice explanation.
Yep.
Okay.
So they're strategizing there, right there, making sure their magnets don't touch. Right, good job, ooh. Ooh, it's jumping, they're jumping.
So our chess players, did you guys know how to play chess before this, or did you learn in Mrs. Clark class?
I already know.
Okay.
Mrs. Clark does a lot of things, but chess is not one of them, so.
But we do have a chess.
Yes, we do.
In our base program.
Yes, we
So
do.
we'll plug for the base
Yep, we do.
program.
We do.
It seems to be a emerging interest
It
amongst third
is.
graders.
Over the past couple of years, I have noticed that more and more kids come in knowing how to play chess, and they do. They love to do that on a Friday afternoon with each other. We've also done some competitions with other grade levels as well. We've done some brackets, and some of the third graders actually have played against some of the fifth grade chess players.
I win that.
Nice, good job, Sean. Did you win? I missed that. Good job. Excellent. Yep, and so that magnet, that one magnet game, and then there's another magnet game underneath there as well. It's the same thing, it just, is a little board that you put it on instead of the string.
Okay.
Yep, just like that. Yep, same exact concept. I borrowed that from another teacher when I showed her mine. She said, oh, I got this really cool one. Same exact thing. And then Carson, what do you have in your hand? Yep, and what's the other thing I just saw that you had?
Uno.
Yes. What kind of Uno is that?
Mickey Mouse.
Disney.
Oh, that's shocking.
Oh, of course, right? Of course I would have Disney Uno, right? Yes.
I had no clue.
Good job.
Any questions we can answer for the committee or?
I'm wondering, guys, is this table that Carson showed us, is that only in Mrs. Clark's class, or do the other classes have that?
Mrs. Clark found it at a yard sale, and for $35 I had to have it.
No, you said 40.
40, excuse me, $40 had to have it. Keep you very
Well, it's
honest.
probably depreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
So I actually taught at a school where this was built into our day once a week as well, about teaching children how to win and lose and playing games. And I'm wondering too, that I think one of the challenges is that children sometimes get stuck in their play routines. And it's really healthy, I think, for kids to sort of mix up the way in which they play and who they play with.
Yes,
How do you
definitely.
accomplish that
Yeah.
in the classroom in
Yeah.
terms of, beyond just moving the material, so that we have boys and girls playing together,
Yeah.
kids who don't necessarily always click playing together.
Sure.
Bigger groups playing together, smaller groups, et cetera.
I feel like this chess, or actually, you know, we have chess games as well, chess sets as well, but, I often find that there's a group of kids standing around this chess game to see who wins so that they can play next.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like all of the chess players in the room, boy, girl, doesn't matter, standing around to see who plays next.
Mhm.
Then I've also seen people that have said, okay, like, they're playing this chess, why don't you and I will play over here, this chess game, and then we'll switch to see who wins. Some of the things that I find really cute is, I have a lot of students, it depends on the year, but I have a lot of students that like to play school. And so they'll say to me, Mrs. Clark, can I be up at your board and can I play the role of teacher? And then they'll call over different kids and they'll come and they'll sit and they'll play and they practice the skipper creed and they, you know, it's really cute to see them do this. And, you know, then what I love about it too is that whatever, you know, if there's a chess game going on, somebody wants to be a part of it. Some kids are like, I just want to color at my seat. Some kids are like, hey, you know, Mrs. Clark, I know a teacher next door to me, she has a craft every time. So every single Friday she has a craft. And so different kids are joining into the different crafts. Oh my God, I saw that you made that. That's really cool. Come on back and we'll make that. And so it just kind of changes it up every time. And I don't find, other than my chess players, they're pretty serious. I don't find kids playing the same thing every week. Yeah, it's really great. It's Sean, yes, excuse me, Sean plays every week, yes.
You didn't have to let them continue to play through the
Well,
meeting.
I did, well, I did say to them that at some point we need
That's
to
not
slow
free,
down.
right, Aaron?
Whenever I get time so long.
Yes.
Like, there's so many games.
Yep.
Donate time.
It might be a timer, it's not a bad idea.
So Mrs.
Yes.
Clark, let me ask you this, if there are, if there is a student or students that are elected to engage in like an individual
Yeah.
activity,
Yep, that happens.
is there maybe an effort to encourage them to join a group activity?
Yeah, so I've certainly gone over to some of those kids that I've noticed that sit by themselves and do the coloring or you know, it was hard for them to taking out a book during this free choice time. But sometimes it happens, but you know, I'll go over to them and I'll say, oh, you know, what are you drawing? Oh my goodness, I didn't know that you could draw that. Hey, so-and-so wants to know how to draw that. Come on up, can you teach him how to do that? Or, you know, whatever. And so, you know, the kids love to play. And so to watch them play and to watch them be imaginative is just really cool. And as a teacher, I don't see them out at recess. I don't see them at lunch. I don't see them during their downtime, their social downtime. And so I love to see that because parents will often say to me, you know, tell me about my child and, you know, their buddies and, you know, do they sit alone? Do they have friends? And that's really a good time for me to walk around and notice, you know, who's buddying up and who's friends with
Great
you.
point.
It's a really good
Yep,
time.
great point.
Why were there?
I know you were, I kind of missed it as into the magnet game, but you were saying like where there might be like crafts in another room.
Yeah.
You integrate like different kids,
We
different
can,
classes?
so I've done this.
Sorry to repeat yourself.
No, that's fine. I've done this play in my classroom every single Friday, the last half hour of Friday for my entire career. I have always done this. And so a teacher next door was like, I really like that. Could we ever like, you know, switch? Like, could you take 5 of my kids and I take 5 of your kids? And so what we do is sometimes we have a chess competition. Sometimes they're over there playing magnets. She sometimes does a craft, so my kids will go over there doing the craft. The teacher on the other side of me loves to take out the glitter at that time. I'm like, hey, if that's what you want to do, go enjoy the glitter over there. But, you know, they're watercoloring and they're glittering over there, so my kids are like, ooh, we'll go right over there, yep, go over there. So we're starting to do that. This is definitely new this year, this initiative, and we're loving it. So we're just starting to say, hey, we've got a game of Monopoly out, can we get 5 more kids, you know, from another classroom to come in? So we're just kind of getting our feet wet with that. It's great.
That's great, because to your last point, you know, for sort of observation of
Yes.
the informal
Yeah.
social structures. And like outside the classroom, even better right now, there might be friends or your
Yes.
relationships in other classes, you're able to observe those as well, it's great.
Yeah,
So that's And maybe there's some uncharted sort of relationships there for them too, that they have to resolve differences, you know, that's
Yeah.
sort of the point of it, so.
Yep.
And navigate those relationships, it's good.
No, it's been really great, and I think the friends in my class, do we like doing our free time on Friday? Yes. Why don't you, instead of having the adults talk, what about if you guys mention what you love to do during that free time on a Friday? What's something you play?
So,
Magnet game, okay?
so really, honestly,
You just play chess, okay? What about you, Carson?
Anything.
You
Anything
do-
that comes to mind. It's like, oh, I think my chest.
Okay? Sean, were you gonna say something else?
I actually,
You always.
I wanted to
This is Brazier's room. Yep.
What do you mean?
And what was she doing over there? The glitter in the water collar?
Yeah, but then there's one just.
I love that. Eleanor, can you talk at all about the different play that you've done? Okay. Lot of chess happening. Lot of chess.
Good.
Owen, did you want to mention anything, or I think you just do chess, yes? Yes.
Yes.
All right, so Owen,
It's not gonna work. Oh, it's
what's your favorite chess piece?
for multi-age play.
There could be, it obviously would depend, like I happen to do mine every Friday from 2:45 to 3:15. And I know my neighbors do it at that time too. I just haven't seen, this great class does it. Yeah, that would be awesome, especially if chess, like I said, I've set that up over the years where my third graders are playing against somebody, we sort of as teachers set that up on our own. But as the year goes on and as these kids start to play each other with chess, they'll want to reach out to a fourth or fifth grader, see if they can beat someone that's a little bit older than them. And so, yeah, we definitely could do that, it's just a lot of fun.
So my third grade friends, thank you so much for showing this to us. Can you guys, show us how you pack everything up?
Get out, yeah.
I would love to see how you take it away very neatly and carefully, Mrs. Clark's
All right,
class.
friends, can we start doing, I'm not gonna sing up my cleanup song, but Mrs. Clark sings a cleanup song, don't I?
Yes.
I'm not gonna
We
sing
might
it
need to
now.
hear that.
No.
You don't get this joy of
Yes,
hearing
we might need to.
Owen and Eleanor start to put those pieces inside the bag for me, please.
And the good news is the chess club goes all the way through high school.
Oh,
So kids who start playing chess here can still play chess during utility.
No, you're not, no, I got that for $40 at the yard sale, you're not taking it.
It'll only be worth 15 at the end of the year.
That's true.
Put that in the
There's
auction.
a,
I have one.
That?
about the initiative.
She would not put it all.
No, some of them bring it outside, kind of bringing the nature.
So absolutely outside is a component, and that was one of the questions the teachers had.
So wait, guys, can you just stop? So first of all, Mrs. Brumhead, could you please state your address?
Apologies. My name is Emma Erickson Groom, and I live at 280 Farrow.
Thank you very much. And what was your question, just so we pick it up?
Absolutely. My question was for Mrs. Sullivan, how some other teachers may be doing this, that they bring it outside of the classroom and outside. Absolutely. That was one of the questions that came up when we talked about this, and that is one of the first teachers I floated the idea behind, the fifth grade teacher, and she said, well, I've been thinking about having the kids go outside and just say, phones free, and just let them, and again, kind of to what Mrs. Clark was saying, is the teachers aren't often outside with the students in that capacity, so it gives them that additional opportunity. So yes, so again, the teachers have that ability to take them to the courtyard, to take them out on the playground, whatever they choose to do. Do a nature walk, all of those type of things. For sure. Great question.
That was like a scene from the Minions movie.
You said it might be worth $15 at the end of the year. Maybe in about 5 minutes. Maybe in about 5 minutes.
So we'll give them a little round of applause when they come back in.
Yes, they just said, can we please come back in?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely, we'll do that. But thank you for sharing that with us, Mrs. Clark.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And so does it still take place on Friday afternoons? Is that when it is?
In my classroom, it's Friday afternoons from 2:45 to 3:15,
I see.
but Mrs. Sullivan has said it can be anytime. You could
Right.
do this on a Tuesday afternoon or a Monday morning if you wanted to. I think most people tend to do it on Friday afternoons. I don't know.
I would say
You walk
it's 50-50.
around.
I would say about half the building is on Fridays, and then there are teachers that have it smattered throughout the day. And, we really tried to make it a priority. In our back to school staff meeting, when I launched this with the staff, I had built in time for us to play.
Yeah.
And as we went through the staff meeting, I realized we were running behind. And my first instinct was, oh, well, we won't do the whole Play-Doh thing. And then I was like, wow, what kind of message am I sending if I say, oh, we need to do this, but here's some play thing, you know? And so we stopped and we spent a half an hour with
Yeah.
markers and Play-Doh and just time as a staff playing. And my hope with that was to send that message that this is equally important to all of the work we do with students, that we have to take that time to regroup. And as adults, I think we have a pretty playful staff. I think
Sure,
Mrs. Clark definitely leads the way with that we like to enjoy each other's company. And I think we're modeling that for our students, so.
But I feel too that, to that point, that you have always fostered that, where, you know, in June, we do the staff kickball game, and then we did the one professional development day, we did the kickball game in the gym.
Oh, right.
Right, so like, I feel like you do always sort of foster that,
Yeah.
you know, throughout the whole year at different times,
Yeah,
so
we
it's
try
a
and-
great thing,
Spend that time together.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, we just deployed one of our
Oh.
oldest students
Oh,
to
thank
multiple
you.
students
Thank you, they're
who are
running.
probably enjoying
Yes. Yes,
their free
yes.
play of unoccupied school building.
There is
right now.
currently free play happening in my unattended classroom right now.
Well,
Yes,
I
yes.
appreciate, well, let's take, do any members of the committee have questions like we always do for Mrs. Clark or Principal Sullivan? I think we've all probably spoken at will, but. No?
The one thing I'll say is I did love watching them, like, when they, like, with the magnets and everything, like, they could laugh at themselves.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's an important component to it too, like, you know, just being the resilience, building that sort of stuff, and being able to laugh at yourself and not.
And it's a different kind of experience than how we play on a playground at recess.
Yes.
Different students, like different peer interactions, and it's just a
And,
different
and I would say
opportunity.
more inclusive as well, like, you know, you get out to the playground and you've got somebody way out there playing kickball, and you've got somebody way out there on the swings, you've got somebody way out there at basketball, well, it's just in my classroom, you know what I mean? So it's a nice compact, and you can see, oh, that person over there doesn't have a friend or someone to play with, I'm gonna go over, because you're nice and compact in the classroom to see that.
Well, thank you so much. I think it's very responsive also to this sort of new concept that we've been, you know, trying to unplug the kids and
Yes,
and get them
For
back
sure.
to-
Actually, that's one of the things that I insist on. Does Mrs. Clark let you use Chromebooks during playtime?
No.
No.
I
No.
wish I would. I would. In my dreams.
In their dreams, all right.
No glitter and no.
No glitter, no
Right?
Yeah.
She's actually scared of it.
Yes.
Why are you scared?
Well, thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Big round of applause for our third grade.
And thank you parents for
Yeah.
children here at 6:30 in the evening.
When it feels like 9.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the later start than usual, guys. Thanks for sticking in there with us. All right, you guys are good.
Good work, you
You
guys.
guys did great. Yep.
Good job. you
High
guys.
five, Mrs. Hand on the way out. High five, high fives.
Yes, high five.
All right.
Hopefully by next
Good
week,
work.
the same
You'll get her
height.
next job.
Okay.
Proud of you.
It'll be a
Nice
fine.
job.
I'm proud of
Good
you.
work.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you, guys. Bye, parents.
On Friday.
Okay, so moving right along, we have one of our members of the class of 2025 present to share her student update. She is one of our senior members of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council, Ella Lynch, who has been here before. How are you, Ella?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you for your patience with that. Just wanted the younger kids to be able to get out a little bit earlier. So please share whatever update you have to share.
I think right now is a very busy time for a lot of students, especially seniors, because college applications were just recently and there's more to come. And it's also the end of the quarter this Friday. So I think there's been a lot of tests, a bit of stress in the past 2 weeks, but I think it's good. I know playoffs have started for a bunch of sports. I know field hockey had a game tonight, which hopefully they win. And I know that some of the clubs have started meeting. I think the math team has the first meet tomorrow. I think the debate team maybe next month. So I think a lot of things are like really getting going now. But I think it's good. I think people are busy, but I think people are happy to be busy. So.
Great. when we're so close to your graduation year, only 2 months away from being, can you believe it?
Coming
It's
quickly.
finally here.
Yeah.
Any members of the committee have any questions for Ella?
Where do you plan?
I applied early to a few schools, but one of them is Dark.
Hey, good for you. Congratulations. My daughter's going through the same thing. I think she's
Yes.
ready to get her essay out the door. I'm Chloe.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so she's ready to be done. The whole exercise.
Wonderful, big time in your life, right? College applications. Well, good luck with that. Keep us posted.
Thank you, well.
If no one else has any questions, I just always like to ask, I'm sorry, Ms. Leskey, didn't
That's
see you raise your hand.
I didn't raise my
Oh.
hand. I just do the like.
I got you.
All right.
I'll start using my hand. I love how you described that people are busy, but they are loving being busy. And I'm wondering if you can identify, are there things that the district is doing to help support seniors in particular, maybe, or high school students in particular, to find that balance? Because it is fun to be busy, but it's not fun to be overwhelmed. And I think that there are structurally things that schools can do to help with that. I'm wondering if there are any things that you've noticed this year that have sort of helped that balance be sort of the overall feeling that the seniors are having.
Yeah, I think for seniors especially, the guidance counselors have done a really great job meeting with us and, offering to meet with us at any time. I know my guidance counselor, Ms. Batista, is always, responding to my many emails because I've asked her quite a few questions, and she's always willing to meet with me. So I think that's definitely helped a lot of people with the college stress, because that can be very confusing if you don't have any older siblings who've done that before, or parents who, have done it before. So I think that's been good. And I think teachers are definitely reasonable with, the workload, and even in AP classes, I think a lot of my teachers are willing to, understand if there's like 3 tests on one day, maybe they move it to a day before or push it to a day after. And I don't think there's an outrageous amount of homework in any one class. So I think that generally the teachers and administrators are not causing too much stress with the school part of it.
That's amazing to hear. Thank you.
And
And good luck.
Anyone else? Okay, Ella, you're always super positive, but I always ask our SSAC members, is there anything that's not going great that, you'd like to see change? Anything with facilities, with food, with academic, with extracurriculars, social things, anything that you can think of? And you don't have to, I just always,
The only thing, and I know that we talked about this, so I think this is a problem that maybe is in the process of getting solved that we can't do yet. But if we could have the senior cafe opened for the food situation. There's really, really long lines for the pizza line now because they just started offering pizza every day. I don't like pizza, so I don't get pizza, but there's like 100 kids in line for pizza, which is fine. But if you took the seniors out of it, I think it would make everyone feel a little better.
do you mean use the service window in
Yeah.
the senior cafe?
And they've done
I
it like,
saw it at some point.
they've done
Yeah.
it twice, I think.
I can tell you, so, we've had some staffing changes in our kitchens
Okay.
in the different schools.
Okay,
And so we've had to shift some folks to Deer Hill and Osgood to cover them. Mr. Cardone is actively working to hire more staff. I know that I've approved 3 in the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So as we become more fully staffed, we'll be able to reopen the senior cap. And at the SSAC meeting, they did bring that up. And so it's in the works of being fixed as more staffing becomes available.
that's great. Well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. That's exactly the type of thing we like to hear, and you are doing a great job advocating for your classmates by telling us that. And it sounds like our superintendent is on it already, as well as our food
I was
services
gonna say,
director.
it's really Mr. Cordone.
Okay, is that it?
That's all I have.
Okay,
All right.
all right, well, thank you so
Well,
much.
Before she leaves,
Sorry, yes.
Ella,
Yes.
so, in Massachusetts, we have a Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, and they have designed an award for academic excellence. And this award is given to a high school student who's distinguished themselves in pursuit of excellence during a high school career. The criteria are your 3-year CUME average, your class rank, and personal selection by me. So given those recommendations and those parameters, I am choosing you for this award. I'm very happy to be doing. So I've only been here a very short time, but you have made yourself known in really great ways in just a few months. You've been a member of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council since it began. You are a driven, caring, and committed student. You were on the hiring committee that interviewed me, but that's not why. It's all these other things.
Didn't hurt.
But the time that you took to dedicate to that process shows your commitment to learning, to the district, and knowing that it was important, and sort of putting yourself forward to that process is important. And I don't know that everybody knows this, but Ella has helped lead the charge at the state and district level to really begin thinking about cell phone usage in schools. She was a key panel member for the night at the Anxious Generation. And while she's doing all of those things, she just talked about being busy. She has a very rigorous course load in her senior year. She's applying to college. She's engaged in a lot of other activities. And so it just gives me great pleasure to share this award with you, Ella, as the award winner for the MASS Academic Excellence.
Right. Superintendent Shannon,
Yes.
can you maybe get a picture with Ella with the award? Right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
The milestone. What?
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot that we were doing
Yes,
that
that's okay.
tonight.
We
So,
didn't put
yes.
it on the agenda because I didn't want you to know.
Yeah, I had to be surprised, so it surprised me again, I forgot, so, congrats, and maybe that'll help out with the Dartmouth,
Maybe it will, I guess
you
we're
know,
gonna
search.
re-email them or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Put it on your-
absolutely, give me that update, sure,
Alright, thank you.
thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, moving right along into our superintendent updates. I turn the meeting over to, again, back over to our superintendent of schools, Mrs. Sarah Shane.
All right, and it's gonna be sort of a combo superintendent, assistant superintendent update because Dr. Scollins is unfortunately under the weather this evening. So first, I have really good news to share. We are very excited to share with the community tonight that on October 30th, the MSBA has voted in their board meeting to accept the Cohasset Public Schools into their accelerated repair program to address the Osgood roof. This means that the MSBA has voted to financially support the repair or replacement of the Osgood roof, which has reached the end of its useful life and has lots of leaks if you spend some time at Osgood. The first stage of this process will be to engage in a feasibility study that will determine if we should repair or replace it. To fund the feasibility study, we met with the Capital Planning Board last week, which will move forward a warrant to the December 12th special town meeting. We're looking to secure $15,000 from the School Facility Stabilization Fund to do this work. That is a portion of the feasibility study for the roof. The MSBA will support financially the other portion of that cost. And as we learn more about that process, Ms. Owen and I spent some time today talking to the folks at the MSBA to get a little bit more information, and they actually are looking to set up a date for the two of us to have a more in-depth meeting with them to learn more about the process. So we're very excited about that, and hopefully the work will happen potentially over the summer. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the strategic planning process that we're going to be going through in the spring. One of the things I've been talking about since starting is that the strategic plan as a district will be taking on this whole process in the spring. The last strategic plan concluded in June of 2024. And while I'm not going to go into great detail tonight, I do want to let you all know, and the community especially know, that Dr. Scollins and I met with TLA, the Teaching Learning Alliance, the organization who will facilitate the process, and we have a timeline for that work to occur. We're going to be holding 8 different forums for different stakeholders in January. We'll be engaging people in a community survey at the end of January, and then holding strategic planning committee meetings that will include school committee members, administrators, teachers, ESPs, students, and parents and caregivers. Those meetings will begin in March and go through the end of April. I know that that seems far away, but I bring it to people's attention tonight because I want people to start thinking about at what level they want to engage. We hope that at least through surveys, we'll get 100% family participation, but parents and caregivers and community members can also engage at the forum level, or if you really want to participate fully, we'll be sending out an interest survey for people who want to be on the full strategic planning committee. So again, I know it's early, but I like to give people a lot of notice so that we can get a lot of participation. I'm going to share my screen for a minute and share some very exciting things that have been happening at our schools. Ginny, out of the way. So I want to take an opportunity to recognize the students at the middle school. They were led by their middle school student government, and the middle school students decided to support their peers at the Asheville Middle School in Asheville, North Carolina, in the wake of the recent hurricanes. To do this, they started to raise money at the last home football game. They collected donations at lunch and via My School Bucks. And they also, some of the students took on running small little sales outside their house, lemonade stands, bake sales, things like that. The student council with Principal Mills decided that if the student body raised $300, they would get a movie day. If they raised $500, they would get some sort of a treat at that movie day. And they far outraised the amounts that Principal Mills set for them. They actually raised a total of $1,300, which was sent directly to the American Red Cross Hurricane Relief Effort. And additionally, the middle school students wrote notes of hope and sent them directly to Asheville Middle School. Principal Mills had connected with the Asheville Middle School principal as well, who shared his thanks and shared that he would be putting the notes from our students out at lunch for the students in Asheville to be able to see and read. So I want to congratulate our middle school students on their efforts and their support of others in need. They are a shining example of our district vision to empower students to improve communities here and afar. And to build upon acts of kindness and improving communities, I know we celebrated Deer Hill earlier tonight, but continuing to celebrate Deer Hill. Our Deer Hill students, as part of their Deer teams, based on the book that they just read across the whole school, grades 3 through 5, planted tulips at the school this week. The tulips will bloom in the spring, and each student and staff member also was able to take a tulip bulb home to spread the Deer Hill sense of community into the bigger world. So for those of you who are Deer Hill parents, hopefully you got your tulip bulb and you are planting it. And then this is the end of my report. I am going to show you the cutest 1-minute video you've seen in a very long time.
Pretty cute.
Osgood was taking this week to teach our littlest students about the election. And I just think it was an amazing example of the importance of engaging in civic action and learning how elections work. And they had some really tough voting to do at the Osgood. They were voting on what kind of spirit day they would have tomorrow.
Yeah.
So now I'm hoping, let's see.
There you go.
That's
So
awesome.
they voted, oh, hold on, I'm gonna change my sound. There we go. They voted and tomorrow is PJ Day. Yeah, that's good. So I have
PJ
some
Day was
meetings.
It's a tough one to do.
But I may find my way over there, change into some PJs and spend a little time at the Osgood tomorrow because you can't beat a good PJ day. And they learned, you know, their vote matters.
Were there any write-in?
I don't believe they had any write-in votes. I don't know that they knew to do that. But they got to exercise their decision-making and see it make a difference in the world. And so what better way for our kindergartners, first graders and second
That's
graders and
awesome.
pre-Kers to learn how to vote. So that was really fun. And to share some things from Dr. Scollins, she wanted to let everybody know that the curriculum review process is underway in ELA and social studies. The ELA committee met last week and the social studies committee is meeting on Friday. And the physical education and health curriculum review committee is meeting on November 15th. She also wanted to share with folks a really big thank you to our CEF. The CEF has very generously, through a grant, provided some equipment to the middle school. They provided 3 green screens, a Wii video subscription, iPads, and a Padcaster tripod. And with this grant, our middle school instructional technology teacher, Lindsay Kay, has been working with students and with teachers around how the green screen and this equipment can be incorporated into the curriculum. So she's teaching kids how to use it in her classes, and other teachers are bringing their classes down to do projects in the class, in her classroom as well. These are some of the ideas that Lindsay has shared for ways that the things that the CEF has provided, the tools, the technology, can be utilized in classrooms. And I have a very short video to show you of a student who has taken advantage of it. This is short as well, 34 seconds. Oh, there's probably sound. So
Thank you.
some creativity, some learning how to use the technology. It's a really great opportunity for our kids to be able to do something that is fun and engaging and really puts their learning of what they're doing in the classroom on display in new and creative ways where they're creating content. So we are very grateful to the CEF for their support in making that happen.
And I see Mrs. Berry from the CEF is in virtual attendance tonight, so we can thank her for her entire organization's efforts. And something that I think Ms. Lesky was a member of at one point in time.
6
right?
years.
There you are, yeah. So thank you. That's because that's a wonderful project-based learning
It is.
opportunity there.
It is.
So thank you, Mrs. Berry and the CEF. Does that conclude your update?
That does
Superintendent Chen?
conclude, yes.
Okay, are there any questions for our superintendent relative to any of the updates that she just gave, Mrs. Hannah? Mr. Carr?
Can you tell me the name of the school in Ashland again? My nephews live in the area. I was
So
in
Asheville Middle School.
Asheville. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mrs. Lesky?
I will just say that, like, I really just felt so happy listening to that update. Because I just love seeing what our students are doing and the way in which they're impacting communities in really positive ways. And I needed that today. And that was just really, it was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with regards to strategic plan,
Mhm.
let's try to brainstorm. It's a really important process. So, because it really drives the direction of the district. And we're coming off a very strong plan that I think took the district into a lot of great places. And I think under your leadership, we're going to, in the leadership of the rest of the leadership team, I think we're going to continue that work. But I think that the one shortcoming last process, which I was part of, I was fortunate enough to be a part of that, was that I feel like we didn't market it enough on the front end for people to understand exactly what it was, and what the objectives were. And so hopefully we can brainstorm ideas. And I know you were talking about getting feedback, and I think that is already a step above what we did before. But when we talk about eliciting participation in the full committee, like actual commitment to that, which is a pretty big commitment.
It is.
It would be really wonderful to have some family involvement there. We had, I think, one student last time. It would be great to have some other students, and we were short on faculty last year too. So if we just brainstorm, and I know, I'm sure you will, and we're so far in advance, but that's kind of why I'm trying to vocalize this. It's just, it was, first of all, it was probably the most wonderful thing I have engaged in all of my school experiences. It was really special. It was a really cool experience. And I just want other people to understand how engaging that process is and how important it is, what it yields, what it delivers. It's not just like that, Dr. Sullivan used to walk around with that foam core, board. There's a lot to it. And it's a district to building to classroom sort of plan for 3 years, I believe. 3 years?
3 to 5-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
For thought. And then with regards to the election at Osgood, so I swung by because Principal Gaudet was kind enough to invite me. I think because I must be on the Osgood council, the liaison position. And so I stopped by and I saw them doing it, and it was definitely cute and a good experience. But I feel like we may be able to. And by the way, we should give a little bit of credit to one of our reading specialists, Liz Deininger, who sort of, I think spearheaded the effort. And of course, for Principal Gaudet and the entire Osgood team. But I think we could probably replicate that in age-appropriate ways at different buildings. Because there's an important element to it in that it's not just, okay, this is democracy in action and the sort of overarching elements to it, or lessons to it, but there's also they had to check in at first and they had to provide their class and their name, and then they went to their individual voting station. It was impressed upon them that it was private and that they're not to look at anyone else's vote because everyone has their own. And then they were to bring back, and they had to check in again once they had, once they were about to cast the ballot. And so there's that whole process, and then they cast the ballot, and they got the sticker to show that they participated in that process, and they had to stop, and they were stop their activity in class to come out and do that. So you had to take time out of your schedule to do. There are a lot of different lessons that are learned, and that's obviously really appropriate for that age group. But I just thought that there may be opportunities for that experience at the contemporaneous with the election every year. At the other levels. So maybe there's a way to do that, especially here. We're in Deer Hill. But, perhaps when you get to the middle and high school, maybe it's even, you're moving on from the pajama day type fun stuff to maybe, they can actually do a mock election with the actual candidates. There's a lot to think about there, and unpack. But I'm just throwing it out there because that's what I was thinking when I was there. And I think it might be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The high school, they're just not as cute and they didn't do it the same way.
Right.
But they did have a way of voting through technology to sort of do the same process, not quite as official. And they did talk about it in all of the social studies classes at the secondary level, middle school, all the way through. So especially 8th grade, which is the civics course, which is where you really learn about the process.
But even
But
the
it's
actual
not as-
practice
yes,
of
I get
setting
it,
up
yes.
those booths and for all the kids,
I get
frankly,
it.
because they're not old enough to vote yet, right? So it's one of those things. So I don't know, we'll
Well,
talk
and
about it
I
offline,
think
but
even at the high school level, because a lot of those students are gonna be voting
that's correct,
in the very next election.
that's
I
correct.
know my oldest voted for the very first time.
On his own,
On
like
it,
in
well,
college,
on his
right?
own with he's in Chicago, so a absentee ballot, but yes.
Right, right.
But even that, he called home and was like, what do I do? How do I fill this out? And so I think it's important for kids
Yeah.
to know how to do it, and even teaching our seniors how to vote on an absentee ballot and what you should be doing and making sure you get it back in time and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's a good point.
And just
My
there's-
eighth grader was peppering me with questions coming home from school on like, how do you make this decision? What does this mean? And
Yeah.
everything. So like, they definitely brought it up, but I do love the fact of, you
Yeah,
know, like
the
that
voting.
actual like learning and voting and, you know. it's-
And I mean, at the other levels, you can even have people, if they want to be like holding signs, or you can, there's lessons to be learned about respecting everyone's perspectives, and you have your own, and it's not a pressure thing, and it's private, and you vote how you want to vote, and how other people want you to vote. I don't know, one of those life experiences that I think we could sort of pass on to the kids, if we think through it enough.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your update, Superintendent Shannon, and we'll move right into the teaching and learning section, which we sort of straddled from the superintendent's update. Because you did already provide sort of Dr. Scollins's input, right?
Yeah, and so she's gonna hold on to
Some of it.
anything else for later, so just Mr. Stapleton.
Okay, so the second half is our student services update. In fact, our first school committee student services update from our new director of student services. I believe it's your first.
I was, yeah, my first real
Your
kind of.
first substantive one,
substantive
right?
one,
Yes,
correct.
yes.
And it is relatively brief, but I'm gonna share my screen now. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna jump right in. I'm excited to be here.
All right, thank you.
So the first agenda item that I wanted to share is really just some of the data reporting that had started previously with Barbara Sirwalka. And so, just looking at our active IEPs in each school for the start of the school year, our numbers are similar to the end of last year in September. So, I've just broken that down, and this is something that I'm keeping a close eye on, is just how many percentages of active IEPs are in each building. As we make sure that we're not, over-identifying students, but we're identifying the right students who require special education services in order to access the curriculum and to make effective progress. I'm also keeping a close eye on the disability categories. As I've transitioned into this role, it's been interesting. We had a meeting today with the Department of Health, and just considering just different aspects of the community and how we support students with disabilities, whether they're health related or other. So this is something that I'm keeping a close eye on and making sure that our systems that we use, Aspen, is up to date, reflecting accurate data. The next piece really breaks down. We had 2 very busy months, both September and October, which is no surprise as we get things up and running. But similar to last year, I restructured the format slightly that Barbara had used previously. Just breaking down the number of meetings held at each level and kind of cumulatively. And so in September we had 18 meetings, some annual reviews, a number of initial evaluations at the elementary level. I'm keeping a close eye on the referral source for initial evaluations, whether those evaluations are being requested by parents or if they're being recommended by the MTSS teams at each level. And so this is something that I know had been started previously, that I'll be working with the MTSS teams at every building level to ensure that we're identifying the appropriate students for evaluation, and that also parents are feeling heard in this process too. If they do request evaluations, they're done in a timely manner, and that we're keeping a close eye on the referral source and who's being found eligible. We usually have a number of independent evaluations that come in my experience previously as a team chair. A lot of families may pursue, outside evaluations in the summer months. And so we made sure we adhere to those timelines to review those within 10 school days, which resulted in some more meetings as we got up and running in September. October was a very busy month at each level with 35 total meetings.
Wow.
A number of annual review meetings, reevaluation meetings, and initial evaluation meetings. I've had a chance to sit in on some at the different levels for teams that I had not been a part of previously, which was really nice. As I learned, and I'll talk a little bit more about the IEP improvement project, but as we roll that out and as, families get comfortable with that process, it's been great for me to learn more about, the different programs at each level, or even specific cases too that I've been requested to join, which I'm always, excited to do, to be a part of the team process. Again, you see through these two, just a number of meetings, and then again, the MTSS referral source versus the family. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. And then one slide that I've been kind of struggling to figure out the best way to capture this data is like the IEP like acceptance rate, which I know we had talked in my first kind of soft launch meeting in September about how we're tracking that. And so I will share this out with the committee as well, but like family confidentiality is very important to me, and so I don't want to like over-identify by any means. So we're trying to find a way to kind of balance this nicely, but based on IEPs that have gone out since September, the first day of school until now, this is the breakdown kind of where we are with things. We have 12 accepted IEPs, meetings, and what makes this hard to kind of capture in a clean screenshot or kind of visual format is when IEPs are held, the district has 10 school days to get those documents out to families. Families have 30 school days, so it's a rolling kind of never-ending process in a sense. And so we are waiting on a number of responses from meetings held since September, the start of the school year. There have been 2 rejected IEPs, and so there are action plans in place for both of those, whether it's through the state process or we'll be attending meetings as well for any rejected IEPs. So hopefully come to consensus with families to move towards. I know it's a high bar to set for like a fully accepted rate, but we want to definitely work on that improvement so families feel heard in the process and that their voice is incorporated into the documents themselves. Any questions about the data piece before I jump into my next updates?
No, I just note that I'm sorry, Rosanna.
Go ahead.
No, I should have called on everyone first.
No, you can
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, and I think this may be where you're headed, when they're like rejected or in here it says not eligible, like what is that process? Like they go through, if you can just.
Yeah. So yeah, I can speak to like when a student's found not eligible. So and having been the team chair at the secondary level, like I have a lot of experience in navigating this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think it sounds very negative, right? Or
Yeah.
and again, I always say at these type of meetings, like as a class of public school system, we are committed to making sure that kids get what they need to be successful. And that may result in not an IEP, not special education services, to make effective progress or to access the curriculum. But that doesn't mean that at the end of that meeting, there's no action plan to move forward for students. And so that may be like a very targeted intervention plan through MTSS. So if the concern may have been, reading comprehension, like that student may be part of, tiered support for reading. And so like there's a very narrative description that goes home when a child is found not eligible, that is consistent at each building level as well, that I've been a part of, writing for the district, and that's also just best practice. So it spells out the reasons why students are found not eligible, and then parents have the right to like refute that finding. So there's different processes for that as well. So that could be a mediation process requested through the state. So an unbiased, mediator who would participate in a team meeting and kind of review all that data again is one avenue for that. I think that the Class Public Schools conducts very comprehensive evaluations in suspected areas of disability, but if we're at the table and like something comes up, we've many a time said, we didn't complete, say a speech language evaluation, so we would move forward with that, kind of like leave no stone unturned in a sense. And so, yes, it like sounds.
When somebody requests, and it comes in through MTSS, is that the guidance counselors in the school, or is that a teacher?
So that could be a variety of forms. So the MTSS teams at each building level are made up of the building principal, assistant principal, guidance counselors, school psychologists, special education team chairs. The Deer Hill School is having more teachers attend those meetings and refer students directly. And so that's like that multi-tiered system support team that, in theory, we would catch kids before we even get to needing to evaluate, if it's like a quick kind of like remediate type of area of challenge, or if we do feel we need to conduct a full psychoeducational evaluation.
Okay. I'm curious on the family ones, if it's flagged by the teacher and then the family's like, okay, great, what do I need to do next?
So I could probably spell it out a little bit more. How I look at what I've reported at this point in time is that a family has independently requested that. I mean, I do know naturally, like a parent, like there may be an uptick in requests from parents following parent-teacher conferences, for example.
On the data, I think proves that, right? Parent-teacher conferences.
So these would have been requested at least 30 school days ago, so that the meetings would have fallen, or 45 within these months.
Last question for you. So this is saying that they weren't eligible to be evaluated.
No, so that says we have conducted the full evaluation process, a
And they
team
weren't
meeting was
eligible.
held, and then they were found not eligible.
Okay, so anytime an evaluation is asked for, it does get done.
Yes, the
Okay.
district does have like the right to decline an evaluation, but that's only done after like a very in-depth conversation with the family. And in my experience here, that rarely ever occurs.
Okay,
And I've been a part of those conversations as well and have modeled that for both of the team chairs that are currently overseeing this process. In my experience, if the parent requests an evaluation, it is, we have an obligation to provide that. Again, there may have been like one or two like rare circumstances where we've had a meeting though to say like, let's look at all of the data, whether that's MCAS scores, iReady scores,
Yeah.
grade level performance, like we really do bring parent input into that discussion as well.
No, yeah.
yeah, that's all.
Leslie, did you have a question? Did I see you raise your hand?
Yes, but if you're going in order or whatever, that's
Why-
cool with me
Is this
too.
Mr. Carr?
All right, then I guess it'd be next in. I love this. I'm wondering, and I understand that it's a snapshot in time, so I guess I have sort of two things I would
Mhm.
like to say. One is like, I'd love to see this compared to what it looks like next month.
Mhm.
To see how trends are changing.
Yep.
That this, I know, is dynamic, so if we looked at it next month without this one right here as the September, October,
Mhm.
it really like loses some of its oomph, for me at least, in terms of recognizing what sort of trends are happening and how things are occurring over time. Because I think it's a long view that's really important in terms of looking at how the IEP process is working within the district. But then I think my second question is responses pending? Are those pending outside of the response time that's given to the, what is it,
Yeah,
parents
so
have?
30 days.
Have
calendar
30,
days, yeah.
so there are 52% of the IEPs that were sent out to families. You're still waiting for them to come back 31 days later.
So I can definitely get more specific with that. Again, that's where I just wanna be
Yeah, I don't wanna
cautious.
get into numbers
Yeah.
that feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but I'm just looking at, that's a lot of no response rate. And so then I guess my follow-up question is then what happens with those and whether or not those turn into rejected IEPs because families might be consulting with outside
Yep.
specialists of different sorts to sort of figure out what their next plan might be, or whether those are responses where there has been some communication like, hey, I'd like to bring the team back together because I have a few questions about the way in which X, Y, and Z was written. And I think that those are two very different pieces too. And again, you can also tell me none of that is my business. I'm just curious.
No, those are some of like the possible explanations
Yeah.
for it. If you want my kind of candid answer, having been the person calling and saying, it's been 30 days, like we have to give families 30 days. Like that's like their right.
Right,
It's
right,
like
yeah.
process and procedure. A lot of the times it's like we may have forgotten to return it. It's right on the island of like in the kitchen. Let's get it right back to you right away. But we're hesitant to always reach out like too much in advance because some families are either speaking with advocates or they're taking their time. I mean, the new IEP format, these are very long, lengthy documents. And I had a conversation recently with a parent where I kind of had joked too, like, because there's a survey that goes home just asking for feedback on like how the process has gone. And they said, do you know how exhausting it is to get to the end of the IEP and then have to like fill out a survey? So I'm learning more too in this role about like how we kind of either streamline things or maybe that survey goes out a month afterwards instead of, you're reading, some pretty sensitive information about your children. And it's lengthy and it's comprehensive. So I think there's a number of reasons for that, but I could definitely dive into that more too.
Yeah, I just think that too would be helpful and is in some ways indicative of the health of the system and how community and district are working together to support those children. That's it. But thank you. Thought it was a great report and I appreciate it.
I do have one more question.
Mhm.
Do we do this kind of breakdown for 504s?
So at this point, I have not. It's definitely on my radar of something that I'm looking at. And so it's not necessarily wrapped into the special education component, but I'm happy to bring that into a future meeting as well.
Okay. I'm just curious. I didn't know that 504s is on the main teacher in the room in a lot of cases. So it'd just be kind of interesting to see how many, we're dealing with.
Okay, any other questions? All right,
The
thank you.
only
for
other
data sharing.
Quick update I had too was, one of the opportunities that had been brought to me, when I onboarded was, through the Apple Institute, through the Federation for Children with Special Needs. And so Apple, I'm still working on the acronym, it's longer than a typical special education acronym, but it's Advancing Parent and Professional Leadership in Education. And so that this opportunity is a chance for me to work with, school committee members, parents from CPAC to really work on building, collaborative leadership teams. And so we had our first meeting recently, it was a 2-hour meeting, kind of an action planning meeting. And we'll have another one coming up, but I really am excited because I think we'll be able to create some nice action steps to build those collaborative teams, so that parents and families feel heard. And so I just wanted to give that a plug because I'll also be speaking to that at the next CPAC meeting, which is Thursday, November 14th at 11 o'clock. That will be in the community use room, and then also available on Zoom for virtual participants. And at that meeting, I'll be doing the basic rights presentation for special education, kind of an overview of special education, and also kind of class specific as well. And then we'll kind of talk about the action plan that we developed from Apple moving forward for the rest of the year.
All right. So I guess we'll just wait till there are any comments until you're ready, because you have another item, right?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, well, the third item, I kind of wrapped it in, but the IP improvement project is going on. And so again, like I've participated in a number of meetings for the writing of the new forms. I think it's going well overall. We found some glitches in Aspen in the systems, things we need to kind of tweak and change. Staff, special education liaisons provided additional compensation for writing their first IEP because it definitely was a lengthier kind of go around the first time through, but we're learning how things kind of connect and cross over into making sure that that's a streamlined process. I've participated in the Directors of Student Services, South Shore group, and so that's been a great resource too for just learning like what's working in other places, what's not working. And I've worked with the team chairs to develop a resource so that families are seeing consistency like in the formatting of how IPs are sent home, and how the goals are written, things like that, just to make sure that it's as streamlined as possible.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Stapleton, the latter part of Mr. Stapleton's presentation? Ms. Hannah?
No.
Okay, Mr. Stapleton.
Mhm.
I'm wondering, it was presented to us many months ago, the new IEP form.
Mhm.
I'm wondering, maybe, I think it would add a lot of value if once you get through the initial growing pains of dealing with, because I think it'll, all these conversations and, experience you're gonna have surrounding the new IEP form, maybe like sometime next calendar year, like maybe in like the early spring or something, you might be able to do a presentation for us introducing the new IP form, sort of demonstrating some differences. And then I think you might have some helpful commentary then, having dealt with it for several months. Because it's new to everyone, and how it's serving in practice is going to be new, and the deficiencies and the pros and cons. So when you think it's appropriate, maybe you can just keep it in the back of your mind to give us sort of a 101 on that, so we're all understanding exactly what the new IEP form looks like.
Yep.
Just sort of a down the road consideration for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a long-term grow into the writing of the document itself and just how parents understand it and how teachers are using it too in buildings. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it would be important for us to understand the general content and substance of that form. Special education is a major area of concern and interest amongst the families, as you are well aware. Apple, I just wanted to mention that, so Mr. Stapleton's mention of the Apple partnership, that was a request of CPACs that the district sort of participate in that. And our new Director of Student Services and our new superintendent embraced that, and I think that was really meaningful for them. And in future, when we have student services updates, we're usually going to have CPAC members present, but we did not tonight. But either way, I just wanted to explain that so that everyone understands that wasn't just something that we randomly did. That was responsive to a request from the CPAC. So just sort of shows that collaboration that our new superintendent, our new Director of Student Services are sort of approaching these things with. But spirit of collaboration. Okay, well, thank you so much for your update, Mr. Stapleton. Appreciate it, and thank you for everything that you do. moving into section F of the agenda, this is community liaison roles or subcommittee positions, any sort of updates that anyone wants to share, just please feel free to share.
All right, good. The Deer,
Everybody.
not the Deer Hill, excuse me, that was my last assignment. The Cohasset High School School Council met late in October. And Principal Scott did a nice job reviewing the purpose of the school council, sort of outlined for everyone that the state of the budget in our district, looking at that in a sort of initiative this year is sort of looking at benchmark assessments within the curriculum, and thinking about ideas around the school's future and pedagogical approach, all very much in line with things that Superintendent Shannon has brought forward to all of us. They have a school climate survey review that we'll be doing at some point, and looking really carefully at the difference between student perception of life at school and parent perception of life at school. Especially around sort of indications around stress, anxiety, sort of mental health, connectedness and things like that. And then also the development of a cell phone task force, which would include students and parents and faculty. And they were meeting a few days after our first school council meeting. So I'm sure I'll have more to report on how that is going, but it was lovely to be up in the high school. And they're doing great work. So.
Thank you, Ms. Lusky. Any questions for Ms. Lusky? Any other updates? Okay, well, rolling off of Ms. Lusky's update, I will provide you an update of the cell phone task force that met. And that is a fairly large group. It consists of faculty members and students and high school parents and me. And I can't remember if our superintendent was there or not, but Principal Scott was there.
Yeah.
And this first meeting, I think, was just to sort of have everyone share their general perspectives on the values and the disadvantages, or I should say the advantages and disadvantages of having access to personal technology during the school day. To sort of try and wrap our heads around, I think, again, the purpose of this is to identify a solution in terms of like whether or not the high school students should have access to their phones and any unintended consequences of any sort of ban, right? So, it was an interesting conversation, and the faculty was super engaged in it, and I was really appreciative, and so were the students actually. So, I think the parents had the least to share of all the groups when we were putting our thoughts together, but that is a process that is going to have several meetings. Principal Scott has put together a schedule. I think the next meeting is maybe in the beginning of, I don't know. I think it's monthly meetings. I forget. The meeting's like maybe in a couple weeks. So that's where we're at so far. Early stages. I think the idea is to be able to pilot something in the not too distant future and see how it works in action before it becomes policy, in conjunction with our central leadership team. We also, Superintendent Shannon and I neglected to tell Mrs. Hannah about this, who also I think is on the finance committee with the subcommittee with me. We met with capital budget folks. They have, so capital budget, advisory, and select board all have their school committee liaison individuals or pairs. And the capital budget wanted to meet with us, and I'm so sorry, I just forgot to tell you. And we met and just had a preliminary discussion, so there will be another one, about how we might improve that process. In the past, it's been sort of I think not optimally efficient process where we come to the table, we sort out our capital budget priorities here, we form a list, and then we submit that to them and show up at a meeting. And they will have a lot of questions and maybe a lot of requests for further information, and this is already late in the budget cycle, and there's like a 2-hour meeting and we get through like 6 of the 20 items, and then like we never really follow up, and then they end up just giving us what they're going to give us, and we don't get all that we're looking for. So we're trying to rectify that, and I think so we're already more proactive, 100 times more proactive than we have been in the past, And Mrs. Hannah, I will make sure that you are part of that in the future. It wasn't an official subcommittee meeting, so it was not posted or anything like that. It was just, it was a meeting at the request with the superintendent, and I'm just like going to so many of these things. Sometimes I'm just trying to get there. But
We have a date for our next meeting, so I will get it to you.
yes, yes, we will do that. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I failed you. So that's all those are the updates I have. No other updates? Okay, so we'll move on from updates to our last section, which is school committee governance. There were no topics that I did not reasonably anticipate that were brought to my attention. I don't think, Mr. Secretary, we have any minutes to approve.
Not yet, but I'm catching up.
All right, so let's do that. Hopefully we can get that at our next meeting, so we can get caught up. It's tough, but just because I feel like there's been some attention paid
It's
to this.
been one meeting that I'm behind. it.
Yes, so, nothing in the world, just like
And we're well within our state governance on how fast to do it.
yes, and just
Glad to
because of our recent, interest from outside groups, I just want to make sure that we're sort of living up to expectations.
Yes, sir.
So future agenda items, any member have any sort of suggestion for future agenda items at all? Anything that you can think of? Okay. There is no reason to move into executive session. I will note that we expect to have our first collective bargaining meeting with the Cohasset Teachers Association this month for the negotiations of the contract for the next cycle. Okay. Will begin on September 1, 2025? Or is it
I think
July
that
1?
date is, yeah, they're
We'll
all,
see.
they're actually all different on the covers right now. I think
Okay.
figure it out.
Well, at any rate, next cycle, start next year at some point. So we're having the meeting this month.
And have maybe one topic, just whenever the leadership's ready, at a time, no rush, to maybe we could discuss how the pilot program for the electric school buses. Be good that we talk about that at some point.
I think that's a good topic to discuss, because I think there are some things to discuss about that. So maybe we'll just include that in a transportation update from Ms. Owen next time she's able to do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Carr, for that suggestion. Okay, well, with that, I don't think there is any other business before us, and I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion been made by Mrs. Lutski. Second, seconded by Ms. Hannah. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes by a vote of 4 members. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your attendance tonight.